What many people don't know about me is that growing up, I was obsessed with the Power Rangers. It was the Power Rangers or nothing else for younger me. Don't believe me? Here's a hilarious yet very true fun fact about younger me that might explain everything about me. I skipped all of the shows you're supposed to watch as a kid in favor of Power Rangers. Did you think that I was watching Barney, The Big Comfy Couch, Sesame Street, Teletubbies, Cyber Chase, or The Magic School Bus? Hell no! I was watching the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was such a die-hard Power Rangers fan that I owned way too many toys and watched way too many seasons of Power Rangers. And for those curious, my favorites are Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder. Now you might be wondering, how did I become a DC Comics fan if the Power Rangers meant so much to me growing up? Well, as I began to fall off the Power Rangers, DC Comics had all of its classic animated shows that were way too good to be ignored, and Marvel began to find its footing with the MCU on the big screen, which led to us getting the DCEU. However, my love for the Power Rangers franchise was finally reignited in 2017 when my dream of getting a big budget modern Power Rangers film on the big screen came true with the release of the incredibly underappreciated movie Power Rangers 2017. Power Rangers 2017 might be one of the few modern superhero movies that we failed as a society, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. This is one of the few failed superhero movies of our time that should have been met with massive fanfare and that should have succeeded. This Power Rangers movie had all of the right ingredients that not only allowed this movie's story to come together satisfyingly, but also should have led to a trilogy. The casting choices were perfect. The chemistry amongst the cast is the best we've ever seen in a superhero movie that's focused on a team outside of the first Avengers film, though I do think there's a strong argument to put Power Rangers 2017 above Marvel's Avengers when it comes to this regard. You don't walk away from this movie feeling like any character was left behind or ignored, which still tends to happen in today's superhero movies. Movies that have come out after Power Rangers have absolutely failed at building team dynamics or giving each character an equal amount of screen time. It's crazy to me that this movie, which again came out in 2017, is one of the few superhero movies that gives the viewer the satisfaction of seeing its protagonists naturally develop different team dynamics, bond over their shared sense of feeling lost in the world, and train together enough to finally step into the mantle of being a Power Ranger. If this movie were to come out today, people would have given this movie the love that it deserved. It's such a phenomenal film that I promise you that if you were to rewatch this movie today, tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year, you may end up reaching the same conclusion that I ended up reaching after rewatching this movie for the first time in years. Power Rangers 2017 is better than the entirety of the DCEU and honestly, some Marvel movies too. You know, I think it might be best for me to dive right into this movie's story in order for me to answer your immediate curiosity regarding why I hold this movie in such high regards. I can't make a bold claim like that without doing so, right? Plus, I know, this movie came out a while ago. I'm sure most people stumbling upon this video haven't seen this movie in a fairly long time. So, let's do this. It's morphing time. In the beginning of this film, Rita portrays Zordon in dramatic fashion, leading to the original Power Rangers dying and Zordon sending out the Zeo Crystals, which allow the Power Rangers to suit up and have superpowers, to seek those out who are worthy and those who are strong. Fast forward to the future where we're introduced to Jason, the Red Ranger and soon to be leader of the Power Rangers, in the most chaotic and engaging fashion possible. Jason decides to try and pull off a ridiculous prank involving a cow, and that lands him in detention and house arrest. This is where we meet our soon-to-be fellow Power Rangers, Billy, the Blue Ranger, and Kimberly, the Pink Ranger. Yes, that's right, our heroes are stuck in detention together, and you want to know what I love the most about this? I love that this movie is clearly inspired by The Breakfast Club. It uses that inspiration to make the viewers emotionally invest themselves in these characters while still bringing its own twist to the table. Whether it's identifying with these characters because you relate to their personalities or because you always loved a specific Power Ranger due to the color. This movie takes the Breakfast Club inspiration to make this more than just a cliche superhero movie. And if you don't see the Breakfast Club inspiration, I mean, come on. A bunch of misfit teenagers who seem like complete opposites end up getting stuck together in detention for different reasons. Their time in detention leads to these misfit characters finding out that, contrary to their belief, they're not so different from each other, and they unexpectedly create genuine friendships with each other. This movie, using the Breakfast Club inspiration, allows it to be dramatic, hilarious, entertaining, and more importantly, an incredibly heartfelt movie with a journey worth seeing through. After stopping Billy from getting bullied, Billy chases down Jason and offers to help Jason with his house arrest situation. Billy successfully helps Jason with his house arrest situation, and Billy asks Jason for a favor. That favor being going to a cave in Angel Grove, the small town where this movie takes place. Jason agrees to help Billy, and this leads to these two characters building my favorite dynamic in this movie. Billy and Jason could not be more different from each other. You have Jason, the misunderstood football player that everyone in the small town of Angel Grove knows about, and Billy, the quirky, lovable tech guy who later shares an important details about himself that helps Jason understand him more than he initially did. Billy is on the spectrum. And you know, I have to give credit where credit's due. For a movie that came out in 2017, this movie explains exactly what that means to the viewer in the most simple and touching way possible without taking anything away from Billy as a character. If anything, from the minute Billy reveals this, it allows you to love him even more. Yes, Billy is my favorite character if you couldn't tell. The boys go to the cave, and inevitably we get to meet the other Power Rangers, Zach, Kimberly, and Trini, because this cave is the one place each of these characters hang out for the sake of clearing their minds and escaping from their home lives. After a bunch of genuinely hilarious interactions amongst the Rangers due to them mostly not knowing anything about each other, Billy starting a massive explosion, and the Rangers unknowingly finding the Zeo Crystals that Zordon sent out way too many years ago, the Rangers end up having to escape the cave. This leads to the team starting their friendships as they bond over their successful and extremely thrilling escape attempt. And I'd just like to give a small shout out to this scene. The camera work is phenomenal. The cops chasing these characters down is a far more engaging scene than it has any right to be. It's a shockingly action-packed sequence, believe it or not. The next morning, however, everything changes. The Power Rangers woke up feeling different the next morning because the Zeo Crystals they found ended up giving them superpowers. Now, I know we give a lot of credit to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man for doing the whole "whoa, I'm super strong and have abilities now" trope the best, but I genuinely think Power Rangers 2017 does it in a far more creative way. The way this movie shows each of the Rangers attempting to understand their new physical changes and skills they've been given by the Zeo Crystals is handled perfectly. It's believable, serious, intense, and exciting. This movie gives you exactly what you want out of a moment like this without being corny, having bad visual effects, or lacking the ability to bring anything new to the table. Usually, when a superhero movie is centered on a team, the entire team doesn't come together or get to understand their powers until a training montage that leads into the final act happens. And even then, a character that's a part of the team the movie's focused on usually makes a last-minute appearance after disappearing for a majority of the movie. That doesn't happen with this movie. In this movie, the entire Power Rangers team gets to spend time together and help each other understand their newfound powers. These characters experience real growth the more time they spend together. Back to the movie though. After realizing they've all changed, these characters meet in school and agree to meet at the cave to try and understand their powers. The Power Rangers discovering the powers leads us to my second favorite scene in this movie. The Power Rangers discovering the Power Rangers lair. The movie uses the perfect amount of slow motion for a moment like this. It's not quick enough to make you wish you got more out of this moment, and it's not slow enough to make you wish they used less slow motion. The movie's soundtrack, which is absolutely incredible by the way, I cannot believe how good it is. It gives off the perfect vibes and allows the viewer to understand that everything is about to change for these characters. And best of all, the special effects, camera work, and cinematography of this movie all get to shine from this point forward. Now, after making their way through the lair, the Rangers stumble upon every Power Rangers fan favorite character, Alpha 5. A ton of exposition regarding Zordon, Alpha 5, the Zeo Crystals, and Rita is thrown at the viewer in an extremely tasteful yet not annoying way. Eventually, the Power Rangers leave and this movie makes such a brilliant creative choice. Instead of immediately jumping to the Rangers being heroes or learning how to be heroes, this movie jumps back to regular, everyday teenage life. Oftentimes, these superhero movies simply forget the protagonist's home lives, so the main attraction, the superhero stuff of course, can push forward and let the viewers have fun. This movie goes out of its way to remind the viewer that they're still teenagers even after being forced to slowly come to the terms with the reality that they're supposed to become superheroes who save the world. And I appreciate that because it makes these characters being teenagers and watching all of their teenage drama feel like an integral part of this movie's plot rather than something that often gets in the way of the exciting portions of this film that you enjoy or are looking forward to. I'm sorry, but we have to be honest here. This is something superhero movies or superhero shows still somehow fail to do in today's superhero media. We have to give credit where credit's due. Power Rangers 2017 does a fantastic job at justifying the amount of screen time these characters are given to grow, build chemistry, and train with each other prior to giving them the Power Ranger suit to go out and fight Rita. Speaking of which, the Power Rangers eventually go back to the lair to start their training. Yes, that leads to what every superhero movie has, a training montage. However, it's done in a legitimately cool way that builds upon the Rangers' skills and chemistry. They train a lot together. However, the amount they train is still not good enough because the Rangers fail to morph. They try morphing multiple times, but it simply doesn't work due to them not knowing each other, and that leads to every Power Ranger but Jason leaving due to them feeling disappointed with themselves. Jason stays back and stumbles upon Zordon and Alpha 5 talking about how terrible the Power Rangers are. So Jason decides to talk to Zordon and defend the Power Rangers without them knowing. Things get heated, but inevitably Jason leaves and finds the Power Rangers waiting for Jason before they leave. Why? It's because they finally are beginning to see each other as one big friend group. They have a group discussion and leave together. As they're leaving, Zach offers to make food at a campfire. And this is my favorite moment of the movie. I love this campfire scene. The Rangers realize they don't really know much about each other, so they offer to slowly open up one by one and tell each other their deepest, darkest secrets. The things almost no one in their lives knows about them, and it is incredibly heartwarming. The bonding between each character feels so human, so believable, and so necessary. They connect with each other on a human level. They're all so different, yet they think so incredibly similarly. It's amazing. Zach, the Black Power Ranger, talks about his sick mom and the weight on his shoulder. Billy, the Blue Ranger, talks about not missing his dad much. Trini, who doesn't do much for the majority of this movie besides saying awkward lines here or there, finally opens up and talks about always being the new girl. Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, doesn't open up, and Jason, the Red Ranger, pretty much says nothing for an understandable reason. everyone in their town knows everything there is to know about him. This sort of moment and these types of expedition dumps are all such real world things that people out there can relate to on some level. These revelations aren't corny or unbelievable. They add so much depth to these characters and help justify the movie's choice of having the viewer go through a wide range of emotions as they watch these characters' journeys. And truthfully, I love this scene so much because you can almost feel the weight that comes off these characters' shoulders in real time, and you can feel these characters immediately beginning to build up the bond that's necessary for them to morph. It's truly a beautiful scene. This, however, brings us to this movie's biggest flaw: Rita Repulsa. I wouldn't say that I hate Rita or that I even have strong feelings about her. However, Rita is just an incredibly weak yet serviceable villain who does nothing until this point in the movie. Sure, the movie gives us a scene here or there of her collecting gold so she could become empowered and build Goldar, the kaiju the Power Rangers fight in the final act of the film, but for the most part, it's not until these characters bond that she begins to finally show herself. She pretty much does nothing for a large portion of this film, and she just kind of operates in the shadow and waits for the Rangers to finally reveal where the Zeo Crystal she's looking for is. Where might such an important item be located? You guessed it, Krispy Kreme. Now, I normally hate product placements when they're done in superhero movies. Yes, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I'm talking about you. However, in this film, it's truly hard to hate it because it just feels weird. For the most part, this movie focuses on the viewer getting invested into these characters so it could finally introduce the villain of this movie. It's not until Rita is revealed where this magical Krispy Kreme product placement that's so blatant that it's head scratching is revealed to us. I'm almost confused by the point of this product placement or why it's a key plot point of this film. It's wanting to show it, having a scene where the characters are forced to sit in a Krispy Kreme like we see during the training montage in this film, or even a character holding a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, but going out of your way to make it a literal plot point of this movie. That choice went a little too far for my liking, and I would have preferred if it didn't happen, mostly due to Shazam! Fury of the Gods ruining blatant product placements for me. I wasn't annoyed at these sort of things until what that movie did. That movie made me feel repulsed by this product placement. Yes, I hate Shazam 2 that much, and yes, that pun was very much intended, though I digress. After the Rangers bond, Rita visits Trini while she's asleep and essentially threatens to destroy the whole world. Another supervillain with a generic yet serviceable wanting to destroy the whole world plot. Who would have guessed? After Rita's visit, the Rangers band together to go chase her down, despite still being unable to morph, and as expected, things go south quickly. The Rangers get caught, and this movie makes an incredibly bold choice. Billy dies. Yeah, that's right. Billy goes from being the odd one out to instantly becoming the heart of the Power Rangers once he dies. The entire team brings Billy to the Rangers' lair so Jason could plead with Zordon and Alpha 5 to save Billy. Zordon finally hears Jason now, gives him the acceptance that Jason has needed all along, and makes an unexpected sacrifice. Instead of trying to no longer be a floating head, Zordon brings Billy back. Billy comes back from the dead and is met with immediate love from everyone. The music is hyped, the characters are on the same page, and then they finally stand as one on the morphing grid together. The long-awaited "It's morphing time" line is said, and finally, the Power Rangers morph together. The suits are revealed with beautiful visual effects, thrilling music, and of course, just the perfect amount of slow motion. The Power Rangers finally set off to try and fight Rita's henchmen, but there are simply too many of them. Zack, being the risky daredevil he is throughout the movie, decides to be a man of the people, and they get the Zords. The build-up to the Rangers finally using the Zords and their suits might have taken a bit, but boy is it worth it. My only gripe though is that this movie fails to use the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song or an original theme song that reaches the same hype levels as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song. If you're not going to commit to using the theme song that everyone knows and love, you shouldn't do it at all. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. It also doesn't help that this scene is only like 15 seconds long and then the scene cuts away to another scene right after it. That's the weirdest decision in this film by far. It should have breathed for about 30 to 45 seconds. A bunch of back and forth action happens, though Rita ends up pushing the Power Rangers to their brink as Goldar causes mass chaos and hysteria. All hope is lost, and again, the movie makes an incredibly bold choice. Instead of letting the Power Rangers immediately overcome Rita's attempt at killing them, the Power Rangers struggle. The Power Rangers almost die, but because they decide to hold hands and stand as one, the movie does the most hype thing it could have done in its final moment. The Power Rangers morph into a Megazord. And you know what? I love this. I thoroughly enjoy the idea of these Rangers failing. It leads to them coming together and morphing into a Megazord. The intensity and the build-up towards them nearly dying as one big team is legitimately awesome and emphasizes just how much these characters have overcome together. By the end of this film, they're one big family, a family of misfits. All that team bonding, standing up for each other, and being vulnerable with one another pays off in this very moment. By the end of this film, they're one big family, a family of misfits. All that team bonding, standing up for each other, and being vulnerable with one another pays off in this very moment. Plus, it's incredibly thrilling due to us never seeing a death like this in a superhero film. These characters who have been to hell and back deserve this sort of last-minute redemption. They stand together as one. They work best together as one. Not only that, but they know how to save the world together as one. It's the perfect ending to this movie story. It's intense, it's dramatic, it's thrilling, and it's also kind of hilarious because they've never morphed into a Megazord. After all these emotions you get to feel, it still maintains that sense of MCU humor in a tasteful way, since we get to watch them figure out how to operate a Megazord in real time. Them coordinating with one another by saying commands and telling each other what to do in the Zord together is a direct payoff of them training together. All the training, the chemistry building, the bonding, the highs and the lows, the cast experience together paid off in the most crucial moment ever. Absolutely phenomenal storytelling. The Power Rangers defeat Rita and end up having a new sense of life after saving Angel Grove. And you know what? Watching the Power Rangers get that well-deserved sense of relief and happiness is so bittersweet. It makes me so happy and yet so sad. These final moments make me happy because they deserve to feel accomplished and like they found their purpose together after defeating Rita. However, what makes these final moments sad for me is that we never got a continuation of this story or these characters. These characters deserve to have their stories built upon. We deserve to hear more about Kimberly and Trini's lives. We deserve to see Billy and Jason continue to grow their fantastic dynamic. We deserve to see Zach grow into the daredevil who makes risky decisions that save the team. This world deserved to see more of this iteration of the Power Rangers. It's such an absolute shame and saddening thing that this film flopped as much as it did, because all these years later, here we are praising this film. The amount of times I see this movie pop up in discussions is almost infuriating because it's always insanely positive. People who are die-hard Power Rangers fans, like myself, adore this film, but nobody else showed up when it was released, and it sucks. It's truly unfortunate. Power Rangers 2017 is an underrated and underappreciated film. It's a superhero movie that handles teenage characters being as perfect as one could hope. The cast had fantastic chemistry together. The action was enjoyable once it finally began. The camera work was incredibly engaging. The soundtrack was shockingly good and impactful in key moments of this film. The only thing this film had going against it was that Rita wasn't that compelling of a villain. This movie should have used the Mighty Morphin theme song when the Rangers finally used the Zord, and the Power Ranger suit could have been a little better designed. However, regardless of these flaws, the world simply wasn't ready for this film. So many of us were obsessed with DC and Marvel that no one could even give a thought to Power Rangers 2017. And truth be told, I think people will continue to regret making that decision for a long time. Power Rangers 2017 is an underrated, underappreciated, and brilliant superhero film that was ahead of its time. In my eyes and in my heart of hearts, it's one of the best superhero movies ever made.